We're in a pretty heated spot right now with Asta and Libe. So I see this next chapter, or at least like next like 2 or 3 chapters, going a very specific way, at least as of right now. There are 2 pathways that I see this going, and just based off of my estimations on this fight. The first one I want to go over as like very simple, but I think this would be really cool to do, is if we give the gist of this fight now, like we know the backstory, we know the stakes, we know what's going on. I think that we could probably get a lot of this, the fighting portion off screen, and I mean it in a way that's not like, oh yeah, let's just skip over it. I mean in a way to kind of build onto it while not just sticking on this one fight. Like imagine we spend a couple chapters seeing Noelle and Yuno in the Spain Kingdom, and then it's like 2 days later we get back to it and Asta and Libe are still fighting. I think that would be really cool because it would kind of just build up a lot of hype, and then we get the ending to that. But I think it would add a lot onto just Asta's whole stuff about his physical strength and his swordsmanship, because in this fight right now, because Libe's, he uses anti-magic, Asta doesn't use magic, he doesn't have that perk. And he still has enhanced physical strength, as we've seen, but he's not even wielding his swords. He's just having them float around him, and then, he pretty much using telepathically. And it right now, it's for Asta, it's down to skill and technique versus just raw, like, uncontrolled, like, physical attack. As we've seen, like, he can't match Libe in his slashes. Like whenever their blades clash, like Asta gets overpowered. But Asta's been parrying. He's been trying to play it a lot more like swiftly, a lot more smart. So I could see like us just getting like, oh yeah, getting to other stuff 2 days later, and we get to the conclusion of the fight. Or because I think that would be really cool. Plus we could see what other characters are doing for their build up for this invasion. But the other way I could see it going is if Asta ends up beating him with the next chapter or so, because like I said, like it's really just right now brute force versus skill and technique. Asta's going to overtake him. I think that's very clear. Whether he beats him through straight superiority in combat, or if he's able to settle things more emotionally. I think I'd personally like a more emotional resolution of this fight. Either way, if it's done with spare time within the 2 days, I imagine we will have a lot of like Asta and Libe do like, oh yeah, for the remainder of this we're gonna do some technique training. We're gonna try and develop some new moves and try and get stronger. This and this. And just general improvement on what they can do together. Like if they get to a point where they're like, okay, we're gonna synergize our attacks, we're gonna do stuff, we're gonna put in the work, and it'll be to a much different degree than what we've seen. And I think that the techniques that would come out of it would reflect on that. But I don't know, I really like the first one. I really like the idea of it being like, oh, we're gonna go see what other characters are doing, and then you're like, oh man, it's been 2 days, what happened with Asta and Libe, or even just 1 day, and then it's like they're still fighting. I think that'd be really cool, because it would just add like a big extra like bit of hype to it, to know it's like non-stop these guys have been clashing swords and moving at each other, trying to slash. I think that would be really neat, but we'll see. We have to be near a resolution point for their fight. Like I don't think we can have just a multitude of chapters of seeing them butt heads further and further and further. I think we either have to get to an emotional resolution, like I said, about like the second scenario that I see going, or like the first one, and we start to kind of like, okay, we're gonna get a refresher, seeing other characters, see what Noelle and Yuno are doing and stuff, and then get back to this. And when we get back to it, it'll be the end portions of this encounter. It'll be kind of like what we saw with like the Yami and Dante fight. We got the opening, and then we start to see some other people, but then right back in for the big meat of what that fight was, and that might be what we get like in this scenario. But anyway, other than that though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.